Well, hello everyone. I'm so glad you guys are back. Hopefully, we won't have any more technical difficulties. We've gotten everything fixed. Let me double check all of it. I double checked it once, but I'm going to check, and check again. Let's see. Okay, you got that. And let's check this. And we've got that. Okay, we should be good now. I don't know what the problem is, but we had a bit of an issue earlier where the things weren't going right. So, anyway, now we're dealing with the book of Ruth, and Ruth is really, really good. What we've already talked about is we talked a little bit about, her humility. We talked about how obedient she was. We talked about how wise she was to actually stay with her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law Naomi had great wisdom and noble within her, and undoubtedly that is what led to Ruth being one of the people who were actually, as well as many others, in the line of David, which takes her right to Yahweh Shah. And so we were looking at how outstanding she was, and how Boaz saw that in her. I won't even go back to the passage right now, but I do want to talk about something that we mentioned earlier when we talked about how sometimes women will say, "Oh, I just have to get me a Boaz. I've got to have me somebody that's just like Boaz." Oh, everybody has heard that. I mean, because if you look at there's many old back in the day, women would have their Women's Day and they would talk about how to have a Boaz, or, oh, you got to have Boaz. They want to build Boaz up, but nobody looks at how humble and how smart Ruth was. And this is what we've been saying over the last week or so with the different teachings that we've done. We've been really talking to women about how to make sure that she's doing everything that she needs to do to please the Father. Because when you please Him, everything in your life, even though you may have some problems and some turmoil, some little roller coasters in your life, it's all going to be okay if you are putting the wisdom of the Father first in your life. And if you're gleaning from that, and if you're pulling from Him, as opposed to just getting some information from some random person who really doesn't even know anything about our Father, right? So as we look at Boaz and look at the way that he looked upon Ruth because of the way she treated her mother-in-law. So get this. She may not have even no one in the community may not have even talked to her. I'm going to drink a bit of this because I'm trying to fight something, you guys. Nobody in the neighborhood may have even spoken to her. Okay, that's why he was asking, well, who is she? And the only reason why the guys who were over the field knew it was because that she came to get some work, right? He didn't even know who she was. But do you notice how she stood out? She literally stood out to the point to where he had to inquire as to who she was. Now, if that's not a woman walking in a regal way, I don't know who is. But you'd also have to say, well, he knew all the other handmaidens because they belonged to him. And all of the other handmaidens, he knew their names. He knew who they had been working. So obviously, no, but there had to be something special about her. I submit that. There had to be something special about her. So we see now that he is taking care of her because he sees how different she is and how special she is. And don't you know that sometimes when you're walking in the royalty of our Father, when you're walking in an upright manner, in other words, when you know that you're in His lineage, you're royal, she knew who she was. She was a smart and very meek woman. But don't you know that sometimes just doing the things that are right is something like as they say, an aura over you, and he could tell that she's a good woman. So he said, "Hey, you know what? I want you guys to make sure that when she's out there, that you guys leave a little extra down there for her. Make sure that you leave a little extra for her." We also talked about how you can juxtapose her to the Proverbs 31 woman. Yes, you can. Because the Proverbs 31 woman was known because of how decent she was. I'm telling you, there's something about modesty. There's something about humility that goes a long way. When you are a young lady and you are walking in a modest and a decent way, So much different than all the other stuff that's going on right now. Like I said earlier, anybody has a set of kneecaps, and I hope you guys followed me on that one. Anybody got a set of kneecaps, but not everybody knows how to be a lady, right? And I think that's what she did. So let's try this again, and we can still, hopefully we can still hear me. All right. So I'm going to have to now go back on the other side instead of just leaving this up, because I think that's part of the problem. You know, this new piece that StreamYard has is really good, but I think they're working some kinks out in it, and let's just hope that they get those kinks worked out in time. All right, so we saw here where Boaz had her come on and eat with them, eat supper. You saw where she dipped in with the vinegar. She took her bread and she dipped it in the vinegar. And I don't know about you guys, but I love when you have the nice healthy bread and you dip it in the vinegar and the oil. Oh boy! So he was treating her to a very good meal, something that was pretty decent back in that day. So you know he's got some dollars, because good vinegar is very expensive. Matter of fact, the more expensive it is, the less tart it is. All right. Anyway, just a side note for somebody who may be hungry. Me. All right. So she ate, and let's see. She did eat, and then she was sufficed. She was full, and she left. Verse 15 says, and when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. Don't stop her. Just let her go. And let me turn this off here. And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose. So on purpose, I want y'all to leave a little bit extra, and leave them, that she may glean them and rebuke her not. Don't stop her. Even though it was off of out of your bag, out of your hand, don't stop her. Let her continue. Now, this is favor. This is favor. That's amazing. This is favor. And don't you know that he gives you that same exact favor today? Yes, he does. In verse 17, it says, so she gleaned in the field until the night, right at the evening time, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. Now, by the way, this whole story starts, and it's around barley harvest. What time of the year is it now? Obviously, this is the time to read about Ruth, right? Yes. So, and she took it up. In verse 18, it says, and then she went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned and what she had brought forth, and gave it to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. And her mother-in-law said unto her, where hast thou gleaned today? And where wroughtest thou? Well, blessed be he that did not take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom that she had wrought, and said, this man's name with whom I wrought to the day is Boaz. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, well, blessed be of the Lord, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said to her, oh, close the front door. Well, she didn't say that, but I just did, because they're letting the flies in. The man is near of kin to us, one of our next kinsmen. Now, we all know the story, so it's not a spoiler alert, so we're just going to tell it. The kinsman redeemer. This might be your lucky day, Ruth. So Naomi says to her, this man is near of kin to us, one of our next kinsmen. And so they probably looked at each other. Ruth probably looked at Naomi, who obviously much wiser, already had something going on in her mind. And she probably looked again and like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And Ruth said, yeah, no, what? And Ruth the Moabitess said he said unto me, thou shalt keep fast by my young men until the day ended all my harvest. So she's going on to tell her what he said to her. So this is just totally, just giving her the skinny on what went down. On verse 22, it says, and Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of the barley harvest. So that was a nice amount of time. Okay, now let's look at time. Okay, and it says, and of the wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. But let's look at time as it relates to relationship. All right, it took a minute for them to go and glean all of that. It took a minute for that period of time to be over. So how about he knew who she was? He knew what a good girl she was. Yes, yes, he did. You know why? Because there is no way that you can see somebody and observe them in that type of setting without really knowing their character. Don't you know that while a person is working, their character does show? Did you know that? While somebody is doing their job, their character shows. Whether you are walking inside of a delicatessen to grab a sandwich and maybe a cold drink, you see how the person is handling and taking care of you. You can see if they're happy. You can tell pretty much a little bit about their character, right? And then if you're there all the time, you can see that that person is consistent, that they're always kind, that they're always polite, that you never have any issues with them. But then you can go to some other store or another place and you can conversely see another person's character, that they're short, that they are mean. You give them your money and they throw the change back on you and stand there and dare you to say anything. Or you're in the store and they're walking past you. Now, this is keeping in mind these people are at work. And because Ruth is at work, right? You see them at the job and you want help and they point or they tell you we don't have it, or they'll say, well, if it's not on the shelf, we don't have it. But looking at how Ruth was, she was the type of person who actually went the extra mile, obviously, but she was still humble. She was still humble. Now, if we go on to the next chapter of Ruth from where we were, now, we're going to go into chapter 4 because I know we're in chapter 2, on chapter 3 right now. We're in chapter 2. Let's do 3. Okay, then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, my daughter, shall thou not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? Girl, you better take care of yourself. Now Boaz, whose young women you were with, he is not our relative. In fact, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. So the chicks that's working with y'all, he's not their relative at all. Nope. They're not related at all. But he's yours. Let's go over here so you guys can follow me. So verse 3, chapter 3, it says, then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, because I'm reading out of my sword as well, my daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with you? And now is not Boaz our kindred, with whose handmaidens thou were? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash yourself up. It sounds like she's got some wisdom. Naomi is telling her, and I'm going to just give you the view here. I'm not going to go through all the words. I'm just going to tell you what she says. She tells her, wash yourself up and anoint yourself, meaning separate yourself. Is this not the bride, the story of the bride? Yes, this is the story of the bride. Get yourself cleaned up. Get yourself anointed. Anoint yourself with oil, and then put the raiment upon thee. Get really nice. And then get thee down to the floor. Don't you know real thugs get down on the floor? I had to throw that in there. I'm sorry. But she was a real one. She was 100. She said, now get down there to the floor. But make not thyself known unto the man until he hath done eating and drinking. That's wisdom. Hey, don't even let him know you at the spot until brother man finish eating and until he full. And when he's finished drinking. When he's finished drinking and when he's finished eating, then I want you to get on down there where he is. But let me tell you what I want you to do, she said. And it shall be when he lies down that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie. So basically, when he go to lay down, keep your eye. Go follow him. Keep your eye where he lays down. And he will tell you what you should do. And she said unto her, all that thou sayest unto me, I will do. Don't you know, young ladies, if you listen to the wisdom of the older woman, you just might come out on top because she's about to come up. She really is. Verse 6 says, and she went down to the floor, where real thugs get down. No, just joking. And she went down to the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law had bade to her. She told her what to do. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, don't you know you're happy after you eat and after you drink? Probably has some really delicious wine. He went to lay down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet and laid her down. Now, why did she lay down at his feet? A lot of people want to know, why did she lay down at his feet? Well, because in their culture in that time period, that was the way she wanted him to know that she would like for him to consider being her kinsman redeemer. That is how it was done. And so it wasn't anything that was foul or corrupt. Although none of us were there, we do understand that if you look at the rest of the story, he maintained her purity and their relationship. Not that she was a virgin, because obviously she was already, formally married. But he maintained her way, and she maintained her way. He didn't even know that she was there. If you go to verse 8, it says, and it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid, and he turned himself, and behold, a woman was at his feet. Mind you, it was a woman to him. He didn't even know what woman. He just knew that it was a female figure, and he could see that. And he said, who are you? And she answered him and said, I am Ruth, thy handmaiden. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaiden, for thou art near. Thou art a near kinsman. I know who you are. What I'm asking you to do is to cover me. I know who you are. And I am telling you that I am willing to submit to you if you just would cover me. She said, just pull your skirt over me. Just take the edge. Just take the tail end of your robe and just cover me. And when you cover me, I'm going to be submitted. First of all, she's at his feet. Now, if that's not humility, I don't know what it is. She's at his feet. And she laid there. Okay? She laid there. And at midnight, he turned around. Well, who is this? She says, listen, I don't mean disrespect, but you are a kinsman, a near kinsman to me. Well, there was another person that was in between him and her. There was one guy who was ahead of him. Okay? But she's laying it down, letting him know, hey, listen, I would like to know if you would cover me and continue to cover me. Be the breach, the repairer of the breach. Cover it up. Close up what happened. Keep us together. Bring our families back as one. And verse 10, it says, and he said, blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, insomuch as thou followedest not after the young men. Look here, he's saying, hey, you got some sense. Because you could have followed after some of these young cats around here. You're not bound to be married. You're not bound. You could have gotten married to anybody. You could have asked anybody to be with you. You know what I mean? But he's saying, look here, you got some good sense. You didn't go to the young guys. You came to me. Well, yeah, she has some good sense. Because if you got any good sense, and a lot of people say, oh, don't get married for money. And she wasn't. But I will tell you, hey, I will just tell you, she was smart. Boaz had it going on. Yeah, he did. So he was impressed by the way that she behaved. He said, insomuch as thou followedest not young men, whether poor or rich. He's thinking about their virility. He's saying, wait a minute, she could have went and got a young cat that could keep up with her. But that's not what she did. Whether he be poor or whether he be rich, she didn't do that. She is being humble and she is coming to me. So he was a bit flattered in that. And I would imagine that over the time that they had been gleaning all about by they, I mean she and all the other handmaidens, he had had the opportunity to see who she was. Okay? And so it goes on here to say, let's see, I will do, okay, young men, rich or poor, verse 11 says, and now my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee all that thou requirest. I will take care of you. Everything that's the necessity, I'm going to follow through and I'm going to see exactly what's necessary. Everything you require, I got you. That's another good thing. She had some sense. Don't you know an older man's got some sense? And she knew, let me deal with him because he's going to take care of everything. And he did. And then he goes on to say, for all, for all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. Again, that's Proverbs 31. 10 through 31. Who can find a virtuous woman? Because her price is far above rubies. It talks about how her husband is known in the gate, at the gate, that her children rise up and call her blessed. Everybody knows who she is. Well, that's Miss Jenkins, Mr. Jenkins' wife. Oh, yeah, she's a very good lady. Very nice lady. You guys always hear me talk about my stepmom and how I say what a sweet, beautiful woman she is. And you always hear me speak of my sister, Ronnie's wife. What a wonderful woman. What a great woman. Don't you know that a man that has a wife that is blessed or that people know she's a good woman, that's a blessed man. That is a blessed man. And they always look extra young. They don't ever look their age. These women that I'm talking about do not look their age. Why? Because they are well-kept women. But they're kept in Yah. And so this young lady, everybody, he says, everybody in the city knows that thou art a virtuous woman. And now it is true that I am thy near, that I am thy near kinsman redeemer. He goes, howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. I'm going to have to let you know, there's somebody else that's a little closer than I am. And then he goes, tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if thou wilt perform unto thee the part of the kinsman, that if he won't do it, okay, that if he will perform unto the part of the kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman part. But if he will not do the kinsman, if he doesn't do that part, then I will do the part of a kinsman to thee. As Yahweh, or in this case, as our Elohim liveth, right? Yes, as Yah liveth, as our Elohim liveth, that's what that is. Okay, and then he goes, lie down until the morning. Well, let's just talk about lie down until the morning. It doesn't necessarily mean that there was any intimacy going on. But don't you know that if somebody is laying near you, that the closeness of that person is far more healthier and it is more intimate than intimacy, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. If you're just hugging someone or you're just laying on them, laying on their feet or laying right by them, and the feet is an amazing thing to consider humility, right? It's the feet. If you consider how Yahweh Shah washed the feet of all of his disciples, he began to wash the feet of his disciples. That's a humble thing. Anyway, he says, okay, so she lay there at his feet until the morning, and then she rose up before one could know another. That was smart. And he said, let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. Also, he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley and laid it on her. He laid it on her. Hey, he laid it on her. And when she went into the city, in verse 16, it says, and when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, whoa, who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her, or for her. And she said, These 6 measures of barley gave he me. He gave me 6 measures of barley. For he said unto me, Go not empty to thy mother-in-law. And then said she, Sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall. For the man will not be in rest until he has finished the thing this day. He's not going to stop. He's not going to show no rest. Ain't going to be no problem until he's done. Okay? Until he's done, he's not going to quit. That's another good sign. That's another good sign. All right? Let's see what we got going on. Everybody's over here chatting. Okay, I'm going back to the other side. But here's the deal. She told her right there, hey, look here. Don't worry about it because I know this man. He's not going to stop. The day's not going to end until he's done. That's a good look. That is a good look. It's not going to end until he is done. Now, in verse 1 of chapter 4, it says, Then went Boaz up to the gate. That again reminds me of Proverbs 31. Okay. Then went Boaz up to the gate and sat down there. That must have been the spot where all of the people hung out, because they're about to go into some type of conversation / ceremony type deal here. But I see so many passages saying where men were hanging out at the gate. Anyway, it goes on to say, Then Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spoke came by. He knew he was going to be there. Real talk, he knew he was coming by. Unto whom he said, Ho, such a one. Turn aside. Come on over here and have a seat. And he turned aside and he sat down. In verse 2 it says, And he took 10 men of the elders of the city. Very wise. So he didn't just go to see this cat by himself. He took 10 men, elders of the city, and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsmen, Now Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth the parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides thee. And I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then Boaz said, Okay, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, you must buy it also of Ruth of the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, Oh, wait a minute now. I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I can't call it. He said, I can't call it play. I cannot redeem it. Verse 7 says, Now this was the manner in the former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe. Homeboy took off his shoe. Now we know where that shoe come from. Now we know where the shoe that hit homeboy. Anyway, y'all remember what I'm talking about. He took off his shoe and he gave it to his neighbor. And this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore, the kinsman said unto Boaz, Well, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe, and Boaz said to the elders and unto all the people, You are all witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Melon's, of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of Melon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead not be cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. You are witnesses this day. You guys see it. Can't nobody come back and say, anything otherwise. And all the people that were there at the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is coming to thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, or Yasharal, and do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem, and let thy house be like the house of Pharahs, whom Tamar bare Judah. These are important people, important times, important women. Okay? He's laying it all down. He's giving you all of the lineage. And let thy house be known, be like the house of Pharahs, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which your Elohim shall give thee of this young woman. Meaning, she gonna give you lots of kids, and this is gonna be a great thing. But I think the most important piece, all of it's important, but I just love this story. So let me just go. I was just gonna go straight down to the good part, but let me just go ahead and get to verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife, and when he went into her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the women said to Naomi, blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman. Oh, this is such good news for you, Naomi. You're so blessed. Girl, you see how good. Ain't he good? They were like, yeah, girl, he good. Ain't he good? Yeah, he good. Oh my goodness, I'm just so happy, y'all. That's Naomi. She's really happy. Okay, so it says, for thy daughter-in-law, which loveth you, even they knew, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. Even if you had 7 sons, this one daughter-in-law, Ruth, would be better than all of them. And verse 16, it says, and Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it. Now that, I sort of scratch my head at, but okay. Verse 17 says, and the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed, and he is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Oh, we all know the story, but isn't it beautiful? Okay, verse 18 says, now these are the generations of Pharahs. Pharahs beget Hezron. These are important. And Hezron beget Ram, and Ram beget Amminadab, and Amminadab beget Nahshon. Okay, and Nahshon beget Salmon, and Salmon beget Boaz, and Boaz beget Obed, and Obed beget Jesse, and Jesse beget David. And we already know who is at the root. We already know. So this is a good story, but it's so many things all in one. All right. This story is so many good, juicy things all in one. It tells us about our kinsman redeemer. It tells us how we are joint heirs. It tells us how humility pays off. It tells us how obedience pays off. It tells us that he will always have something there to take care of us. But as women, this is unbelievable because it tells us that there's nothing like, I have some notes here. I shared with you earlier today, these notes. There's nothing like being obedient. There's nothing like being trustworthy or faithful, humility. Oh my goodness. So many good things that you get just from following the way that he would want you to do. She followed the suggestions of Ruth, of Naomi. And Naomi obviously was a wise woman. Okay? She had to have been listening to Yah, her Elohim. She had to. Because wisdom, don't you know that wisdom comes from nowhere but our Father? You can't get wisdom anywhere else. Somebody can pretend to have wisdom, but you can see something ain't right. Right? Yeah. But in this case, this story tells us the power of obedience. These are my notes. This is what I wrote down. I know you probably can't see it, but these are my notes. Yeah, these are my notes. And that's the one thing that came up to me, is that she remained respectful. She remained respectful. Now, she could have told Naomi, what do you mean go lay down and follow him? Watch where he going and then lay down. I ain't going to be laying down on top of him. I'm not going to be laying at his feet. Not me. I ain't doing that. So many silly women have lost their minds and have talked themselves out of blessing by saying what they weren't going to do. I remember telling some young women, you know what? It's not really worth it to argue. Just let him argue. And you know why I know that that works? Because I was a silly woman way long ago when my former mother in law told me that I should be quiet. And I looked at her like she was crazy. I'm like, she must be smoking something. Because this guy's clearly got issues. You raised a winner. Winner, chicken dinner, ma'am, is what I thought to myself. Ma'am, you really raised a winner. She says, honey, you just have the little slither. I got the mountain that slither came off of. And I'm trying to tell you how to handle it. Well, I was a silly woman. I didn't listen. I did not listen. But he had some issues too. You know, we always got to justify the bad stuff. We always got to justify our bad behavior. Again, as I've always shared, you know what? It doesn't matter what the other person did. I only look at me because I can only grow for me. I can only get myself together. But my point is, I know because I was one of those young women who didn't want to hear any of that. But now in my life, as the years have grown on, now I see that these things are important. So, for the past several years, all of the things that every woman who had wisdom sowed into me, I hear it now. I try the best that I can to live it. But the one thing that I want to tell you guys, I really do, I try to shout it to everybody. Not because I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination, not at all, but because I want somebody to get it so they don't have to go through what I went through. That's right. And you guys know that if you do all the old videos that are here on this channel, you'll see some of those stories. You'll see some of those horrific things that I experienced in my life. And you will understand that the only reason why I share any of that is because I want others to prevent the snares that I walked into instead of sitting down, being patient, and taking the advice of the older women at that time, the way that Ruth did with Naomi. Oh my goodness, what a blessing. Just imagine, had she not done that, had she not, we would, of course we know the will of the Father would have been done, but imagine it could have thrown the timeline off, right? Because the lineage, the direct lineage from Jesse to David comes from the obedience of Ruth. Wow, this was a good story today, right? These are good passages. And I'm glad that you guys were with me for part 2, because part 1, we were having all kind of stuff going on. It was really cattywampus, part 1 was. But what I do want to do here is I want to open this up a little bit so that I can see some of the comments. It's time for me to get a new pair of glasses because I can't hardly see. But my grandson said to me when I told him that earlier, he says, Grandmother, you've had those glasses all of my life. And he's 10. He's right. I have. But I normally just change out the frame, change out the lens, because what I end up doing is I can never find a pair of glasses that I like. And these are I've had them several years. They're Dolce & Gabbana. But, however, the first ones that I had that I really loved were YSL. And then I wore those so many years. I would get a new pair, a new frame every year, with the old plan that I had several years ago, and then they stopped making those. So then I had to go to this Dolce & Gabbana. And don't you know, I am such a, I'm one of those people who I'm a creature of habit. If I find something that I like, I stick with it. If I have a lipstick and you stop making it, I'm not going to like you as a company anymore, because I grew to like something. I had a lipstick called Rose Reflect several years ago that I loved, and it was by Lancome, and they stopped making it. And then I had to go around to all the stores and find once they stopped. And of course, obviously, I've used all of those. They're gone. But my point is, I'm a creature of habit. All right, so let's see what we've got here. Let me put on my avatar so I can squeeze in close. I told y'all I got to squeeze in close when I'm trying to read. Y'all know me. All right, let's see. Oh, yeah, Stacy says we're back. Amen. And Sharon Marie, beautiful. Hello. And Rachel, thank you, girl, because you know you saved the day earlier, because I don't know what I'd be doing without you. All righty. Blessings all around. Blessing to you, woman of spirit. And it looks like artistic whistleblower. Hello, darling. How are you? Yay, we're back. Yes, we are back. And Kimon, and that's none other than Sarah Brown, one of our channel members, and Kimon Reed, one of our channel members. Well, we've got a lot of channel members in here today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. Hello, happy Wednesday, everyone. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Okay, you guys are loving on each other. You know how I love that part. Just don't want to miss any uh comments. Let's see. I glean tobacco for my smudge sticks always makes me think of Ruth. That is wonderful. You guys do such great things, such earthy things. I love it. See, here you guys go again, showing love. All right. Okay. From birth of a person has their treats. Okay. Let's see. The story of Ruth is my favorite. Isn't it a lovely story? And there's so many things that are in that story that to me, you know, it never ends. It's a never ending story. Don't you think so, Amy Duran? It's a never ending story because there's so many powerful components inside of the story of Ruth. Banging my head against the wall trying to get my daughter to listen to these things. Honey, it takes a second. It really does. It takes a second because see, when we're younger, we think we know it all. Yeah, we do. We do. We think that we know it all, and there's nothing anybody can teach us or tell us when we're younger, and that's amazing because I remember my mother when I was a little girl telling me, things like, live a little while longer, or that song came out when I was a little girl, and I'm like, no, that song is not old. That song's a brand new song. It just came out by such and such. And she said, honey, there's nothing new under the sun. This song was out when I was a young girl, and it's by this person. Then she would go and get me the vinyl and show me because I just thought I knew it all. But I think there's a lot of kids that are like that, right? Yeah, there is. I'm going to finish reading. Naomi is a metaphor for wisdom. Hello, brother. Okay, for wisdom. Boaz and Ruth's child is a metaphor for the fruit of the Gentiles who gained inheritance in the kingdom via the kinsman redeemer. Naomi nurses and feeds the child wisdom. Hallelujah for our brother Ronnie being here right now with those impressive words. True words, awesome things to know. Like she would her own blood relatives. You saw that I queried that, right, Ronnie? You saw that I queried. I was like, how could a woman that old still have the ability to nurse? But I knew there's going to be something, and I'm glad that Ronnie is in the chat because he just answered that question for me because, my mind always goes to the natural, especially when it comes to things of women. So thank you. Let me go ahead and finish reading. Okay. Yes, glasses do matter, R. Jones. Alrighty, thanks for the clarification, Ronnie, because I thought her milk producing days were probably long past. So did I. That's exactly what I felt. The book of Ruth is such a blessing. I love my beautiful 80-year-old mother as Ruth loved Naomi. Hallelujah. What a blessing. R. Jones, you're such a beautiful soul. Thank you, Ma. Isn't that sweet? For thanking mother. That is so beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. Wisdom I hadn't seen before in the story. Thank you. Yes, there's wisdom there. You know how there's wisdom? Because she listened. She really did. She listened to what Naomi said, which tells us, like back at the beginning where there were the two. There was one daughter-in-law and the other daughter-in-law, right? And the one daughter-in-law was like, well, I appreciate you for being honest with me to let me know that obviously there was nothing here for me. So thank you. And I'm going to leave. I'm going to hug you and I'm going to leave. And she left. But Naomi had to know that Ruth was going to leave too. Because Orpah had just left. But then what Ruth decided was, I've been around and I've seen some things and I'm good. This woman raised a good one. And I know there's probably not going to be another one for me right now, but it's all right. I am going to submit myself to her. That's wisdom. I'm going to submit myself and tell her, where you go, I'm going to go. Where you lay down and die, I'm going to die. Your God going to be my God. Now, mind you, she took on her Elohim. as her Elohim. That's wisdom. Why? Because obviously the fruit that was in Naomi's life was something that was to be um, desired. Yeah. So that was wisdom there. All right. Okay, you all, it's been 45 minutes, not including the first portion of the time that we were all together. Let's see, where are we now? Here we go. All righty, we can definitely learn from the elder women in the Bible. Yes, you can, especially with women who've got some good sense. Oftentimes you'll hear me say something like, just stay still, or just don't go, just let it be, take a deep breath, leave it alone. Why? Because I don't want people to go through anything that they don't have to go through. I really don't. I want women especially to just learn how to stay into this. Because I tell you what, there can be a bazillion things in a day that will drive you bonkers. And honey, hey, Mama Bear, Papa Bear, how are you? Let me just tell you, if you don't stay in that, it's a problem because even when you're in it, it's hard to maintain sometimes. Let's just talk about real talk, right? So I want to thank each and every one of you all for being here. I want to thank you guys for coming into the second part because, as you know, we had some technical difficulties in the first one, and that was a bit of a problem. For those of you who have been supporting this channel, for the Rachel Van Ziels of this world, Rachel, you and your family blessed me beyond measure. I want to publicly say that to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Ronnie Mann, you have been a blessing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Who else is in here? Everyone that has ever given. Sarah Brown, all of you that have given anything, $1, $2, 10,000, $1,000,000, a quadrillion dollars. Thank you. Thank you, thank you to all of the channel members. Thank you. Thank you. Because this right here is the love of my life. Doing the Father's work is the love of my life. I want to do His work because I love Him. And you guys are really helping to bridge the gap for my family and I. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to be transparent and tell you thank you. It's not always simple. It's not always easy. Mama Bear, Papa Bear, thank you. Thank you. Okay? Thank you. You guys who have sown financially into this ministry, I appreciate you guys. I just want to say thank you. So there's that piece. All right, y'all. We're going to get on out of here. We're just going to get on out of here. I feel good. And for those of you who watched earlier, well, thank you, Stacy. For those of you who were able to tune in to over at Headlines with the Voice today, we had Clay Clark there, and he gave some pretty good tips on how to realign yourself once you find yourself without your original gig or you're older and you're starting out again. He gave some great tips about entrepreneurship, about even opening up like something like a Subway's or, a couple of other franchises that he's a part of, but he just gave some really good advice. I hope that you have the chance to go over there and watch that and leave some comments, because on any of the stuff that I do with her, I definitely have been keeping the comments open when it's alive and I've done it, or when I'm trying to see the type of work that they want over there. Because I feel like if you put something and you don't know them, you don't know what they want to hear. So it made just better sense to just go on ahead and put up the comments so that people can say something. Okay. All right. Let's see. We got a couple more things here said. I appreciate you, Sister Felicia. You as well, precious one. You dear precious one. Have a peaceful, wonderful Wednesday evening, everyone, and the Lockhart perspective. Thank you so much. Come on. You got to come and give us some of those great beats that you have too, some of your music. Rachel, I appreciate you, sister. And Ronnie Man, come on, Unstoppable. Okay? It's a really good video. Clay's, oh good, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, we're going to have to do something else with him on another, maybe, I don't know where. I don't know where and I don't know how. But possibly we can just make a recording with he and I, Rachel, and talk about some of the things, because he really looked like he wanted to just let loose. Okay, we're not going to say what about, but it looked like he just really wanted to let loose. And to be honest with you, I think that it was a let looseable topic. Real talk. Okay. Yeah, I do. So yes, so I think what we'll possibly do is do a live recording, he and I, and then we'll upload it possibly somewhere else. But anyway, folks, remember what we always say here on this channel after eating this good juicy word with Ruth. That man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High Yah. You guys take care of yourselves and take care of one another. Until we see each other again, you be blessed. Lockhart perspective. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.